At 11 years old, my dad left. And I'm not looking for pity because quite honestly, I wouldn't change it if I could. I'm grateful that he left. I'll get into that in a second. But being 11, growing up without a father, it filled my heart with a lot of anger, resentment, rage. These are all emotions that I didn't know how to internally express at the time, so I outwardly expressed them through means of self-destructive behaviors, doing things I shouldn't be doing, hanging out with people I shouldn't be hanging out with. This self-protest, if you will, I now realize was stemming from my own insecurities of him leaving, this feeling of not being enough. Because if he didn't want me, why would I want myself? This overarching feeling led me down paths of self-destructive behaviors, trying to disassociate from that pain via lust, drugs, whatever it may be, etc. Could be anything. Instead of facing it head on for a lot of my teenage years, I just distracted myself from this pain, suppressing it. And as most men know, that doesn't work. When you bottle that up, it's just bound to implode at one point. And that's where people get into serious problems. So I'm grateful, and I'm making this video for anyone facing a similar situation because this is some things that have really helped me. Because I've now learned to change the narrative. Instead of allowing this power he had over me, I've reused that, recycled that energy into myself, into enhancing my own growth. As I mentioned, he held so much power over me at this young age, like 12 to 14. I was so angry, I was so confused. As enough, going through puberty, it's a confusing time, but for my dad to leave, that's my superhero. When you're a kid, a young boy looking at his father, that's Superman. For him to walk out on me really left me vulnerable, really confused, and unaware of where my standings were, my self-respect. No one to guide me. I had to figure out for myself with a single mom who was facing financial problems. She's a young mom. There wasn't much father figures, any. And that's why I mentioned earlier, I'm glad he did, because he wasn't fit to be a dad at the time. He wasn't doing the best job, to say the least. And since then, I felt that it was malicious. And now I realize it's not. And that we all have our own path, and you have to have a bit of faith and understanding that every single thing that happens is happening in your favor. I took on that belief at a young age, and that has served me greatly. Being delusionally optimistic. Every single thing that's happened to me is happening in my favor, leading to my inevitable success. Man, I believe that to my core because I've repeated it over and over and over again. Now I know that there's a sense of pain that I still have. Even after doing a lot of deep work internally, I still face this reoccurring thing that's frustrating because I feel like I've already overcome that obstacle. But you never really overcome it. You never move past it. You just learn to adapt with it, to use it accordingly, to use it to your advantage. And that's what I've learned to do, is to take that pain, that discomfort, that anger, and use it to help me, to aid me in my own progression. Because for so long, it was the opposite. It was anchoring me back. It was limiting me. It's typically the people that you dislike the most that hold the most power over you, that hold the most resentment. You're thinking about these people constantly. Oh, I can't believe he said that to me at work. Oh, I can't believe my friend at school was talking behind my back. My ex cheated on me. Whatever it may be, any example is applicable. By giving it so much power, you are allowing that moment to define your future. My dad leaving at 11 years old defined the next 5 years of my life negatively. At 14, I got a felony for selling Schedule I narcotics at school because I was trying to be something I'm not. Because I was trying to be cool and trying to act in this type of way that I didn't know where it was stemming from. But now looking back, I realized it's because I didn't fit in. It's because I didn't have a father figure to teach me the right way to move, how to operate, how to act like a man. So I was doing little boy shit. Trying to be cool. That's not it, bro. And I'm really grateful that I grew up in the time I am now, having this, bro, the internet, because I was able to, while I didn't have any father figures, anyone I actually looked up to in a masculine role physically, I found them online. I started looking up to these people like Joe Rogan, Andrew Huberman, Alex Hormozy. These are my father figures, and I haven't met a single one of them. They really defined my childhood and gave me a positive role model to look up to, and I'll eternally be grateful to these men for that. That's just to list a few. But you can understand that everyone can agree you're a product of your environment. If the people around you physically aren't enhancing you, you can literally create a social circle, if you will, online of these high-performing, high achievers. It has never been easier to be successful. It's also never been harder to be motivated. There's so many distractions, but on this platform right now, YouTube, you can learn anything, bro. You can learn a new skill. You can learn anything. Like, there's no limitation. Never before in history have you been able to get in that social circle of these high-performing, high achievers to hear what they have to say. You couldn't get in that room before, but now it's accessible to everyone. The hard part is being able to have the self-discipline to digest this content that's enhancing you and not watching brain rot that's limiting your potential. It's entirely up to you, bro. It's literally up to you. The bar is low. The bar is low. Success is the only revenge, my boy. Real talk. My dad left, and I let that anger and resentment hold me back for so long, but at a point I made a switch. I'm no longer gonna allow him that power over me. I'm taking that back, reinforcing my own growth. I'm using that energy to propel myself up, because success is the only revenge. For so long, I thought he was malicious. I had so much anger in my heart. How could he leave me at such a pivotal time as a 11-year-old boy just stepping into manhood? Like, I needed guidance more than ever, and then when I needed him most, he left like the Avatar. And now looking back, I realized that was a blessing, because I became more self-sufficient. I grew up faster. I became way more developed than my peers because I was forced to. That's that delusional optimism sneaking in. It's like, no, that happened for a reason. I'm grateful it did, because it made me into the man I am today. And I wouldn't trade that for the world. Every single bit of pain and sacrifice and suffering that I've been through has shifted and sculpted me into the person I am today. And I'm so grateful to be here standing before you. So it's like, it's a blessing, bro. I wouldn't change that for the world, and neither should you. It's really clear to me that I've made the most strides in my own development when I'm in the worst situations, when I'm facing the most suffering, beneficial pain, that is. It's like when you're in this middle ground where life's not great but not terrible. That's the worst place to be, bro. That's where you're comfortable. But when it drops below a certain standard of life where it's unbearable, where you need to make a change, that's when you make these strides and level up exponentially. So if you're growing up without a father, take back that power, bro. Don't let him hold that over you. Don't allow that resentment. Because I know a lot of people face this, and a lot of people never actually recover. Their entire life, they feel inadequate. They feel like they are not enough. You are. You're enough, bro. As of making this now, I've actually seen my dad for the first time in almost a decade, a couple months ago. Really shifted my perception. As I mentioned earlier, for so long I demonized him. I thought he was such a bad person. He maliciously hurt me. But then sitting across from him, seeing him in person for the first time, really humanized him. For so long I demonized him. But now looking in his eyes, I can tell he's just like me. He's just trying to figure it out. He's flawed. It's so easy to forget that your parents are human. They were kids just like you. They're trying to figure it out just like you. I know this video is a bit personal, and if you've made it to this point, I can't even express how grateful I am, truly. I'd really appreciate it if you considered subscribing and stay tuned for the next one. Let's get it.